Hi there, I'm Eli Sipka, and this is the Apatros Review. Now this is the fourth of a series of reviews where I revisit the Monogram 9, that infamous series of ultra-cheap Poverty Row horror thrillers, and a couple of comedies thrown in as well, that Bela Lugosi did as a 9-picture deal with Monogram, the cheapest of the Poverty Row studios in the 1940s, after producer Sam Katzman signed them on following the 1939 Edgar Wallace adaptation of Dark Eyes of London. These films ran from 1941 to 1944. I've decided to review these films each separately, as it is easier for the fans to look up these films, and also to go a little more in-depth on each film. So let's start, shall we? Now in this episode we take a look at the fourth film, which is The Corpse Vanishes. This was directed by Wallace Fox, who also directed the next film in the series, The Barrier Midnight. And this film was also written by Harvey Gates, from a story written by Sam Robinson and Gerald Schnitzer, and produced by Jack Dietz and Sam Katzman. The cast include Bela Lugosi, Luana Walters, Tristan Coffin, Elizabeth Russell, Minerva Urakel, Angelo Rosito again, and Joan Barclay. Now, the film premiered in the United States on the 8th of May 1942. Now, in this fourth entry in the Monogram 9, Bela Lugosi stars in the best film in the series that doesn't have the East Side Kids anywhere near it. He plays a strange reclusive botanist and typical mad scientist type, whose wife has been severely hit by the baseball bat of old age. He wants to revive her youth, but in order to accomplish that, he needs to harvest the glands of young women to replace the ones his wife has. And by the way, I should mention here that the disreputable science here is a complete joke. There's very little here that would be scientifically plausible, so if you're planning to watch this, it's best to avoid dwelling the logic goose at any length. Just put your brain on autopilot and enjoy the ride, or what a ride this happens to be. Now back to the review. So we've established that Bela needs to get some essence of young woman. To get the stuff he needs, and this is not something that you can simply get a medical prescription of and head down to your local chemist to grab a supply of, remember as well that the early 1940s weren't exactly the most advanced medical science by today's standards. Hell, even the original antibiotic, penicillin, was just being invented around this time period. So he flexes his botanist muscles and creates a strange new species of orchid that emits a smell which causes anyone who gets a strong sustained whiff of it to fall into a cataleptic coma. He then mails the orchids to every bride-to-be in the city nearby, causing a lot of brides to collapse in a half-past dead state on their altar during their wedding days. If nothing else, the orchids have impeccable timing. Once the target is mistaken to be dead, it's only a simple matter of pretending to be an undertaker and stealing the bodies, while employing various diversionary tricks to ward off any cops on his tail. A female newspaperwoman, the era's title for female newspaper journalists, gets hold of one of the orchids and learns of the scientist's existence from a male friend, who she gets a wedding itch for herself. The pair both spend the night in Bella's spook house mansion, where she witnesses Bella's somewhat demented henchman, one of whom is played by Angelo Rosito, a dwarf actor who has a legendary career from the silent era to his very last role in 1985 of Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. He played the Master, creeping around the house and finding out exactly where Bella keeps the comatose brides. The next day, she gets a plan to expose the scientist's mad plan for good. This was definitely one of the top tier of those Monogram 9 flicks, with a crazy story operating in bonkers logic, a very brisk pace for the standards of the time, snappy dialogue from the cast who all give a serviceable performance. You might not think this is a solid flick, but at least the cast, especially Bela Lugosi himself, give it a decent shot. And while the science in here just utterly fails to add up, at least the novelty of the premise is enough to get fans of old 1940s mad scientist cheapies to give this a watch. And to add to that, the film, like the rest of Monogram 9, runs to about an hour and small change, so definitely won't outstay its welcome. The Corpse Vanishes earns itself a C+, 5 out of 10 from me. It's a passable no-budgeter from the Monogram 9, and one of the 3 best films in the series, the other 2 being the 2 East Side Kid films. Now, there's no gore or nudity in this. Now, as is the case with the others in this series, this is firmly in the public domain, has been for decades, meaning you can find it just about anywhere, on old VHS tapes, cheap bargain basement operated DVDs, dodgy internet movie download sites that like to slip you some malware with your download order. Just kidding, where am I? And on YouTube, give it a try. Okay, that's it for The Corpse Vanishes. It pretty much gets a C+, 5 out of 10. It's passable. Now, I do not do requests, but if you have any questions about films or DVDs in general, just hit me up in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer. Hope you guys are staying safe, take it easy, and that's it for this review. See ya.